very much. As the project leader of the stack, and also on behalf of the principal investigator, Professor Jane Conroy, may I add my welcome to those of the President, and from a different perspective. This is because, to me, an amazingly large proportion of you here this evening are not so much guests, as colleagues, collaborators, and comrades, who have between you put in a vast amount of work over the past 3 years, as we have together constructed this digital resource on St. Patrick's Confessio HyperStack stack. As far as I'm concerned, it's a question of the pleasant task of thanking people, and perhaps the best way to do that is by way of introducing the different elements of the stack and acknowledging the individuals responsible as we go. Now, this is all on the screen, but I know that some people are rather a long way back. Would it be worth trying to come a little further forward? I'm not sure. Do if you like. This will enable people further back to the Hey. Otherwise, you want people at the front will hide it.
Yes, that's true.
All right. Now then. Order. While we have been assembling here this evening, we've found this, the home page of the HyperStack on view. I trust you find it effective. We're beginning from the fact that many of our casual internet visitors worldwide, and even in Ireland, may well not realise that St. Patrick wrote 2 books whose texts actually survive. By showing the opening paragraph of the Confessio in this way, we hope that they will be led into wishing to read on, as perhaps you have been just now, those of you who can see it. To be realistic, most people will probably want to do this in English. And for that purpose, we've captured this excellent translation by our collaborator, Padraig McCarthy, who is here this evening. Ruth Hegarty, of the Academy's Publications Department, has produced a booklet version of it, beautifully designed, like the site itself, by Delma Slattery, and copies are available not just at low cost, but actually free of charge this evening. And they're over there for you to keep, take away, read, and pass on. So please make sure you pick up at least one before leaving. Importantly, the web address of the stack is prominently shown on the back cover, www.confessio.ie, as of this evening that is live on the internet. So we trust that you will follow that up on your computers over the coming days. Now, particularly here in Ireland, there's no reason why the English language should have a monopoly, so alternative translations for reading on in St. Patrick's own words are provided in Irish, in Italian, in Portuguese, the work there done by our collaborator Dominique Vieira Coelho dos Santos, and will shortly appear in French in a rendering by Fiona Motla, who is here this evening. The German translation is one of the major contributions made to the stack by Dr. Franz Fischer, my fellow editor and dedicated postdoctoral researcher over the last 3 years. He has also provided the general English language introduction about the HyperStack. But these explicit contributions of his are just the tip of the iceberg of the work that he has done. When you bear in mind that his job description was nothing less than to head up, design, plan, oversee, publicize, and report upon the construction of the stack while doing much of the construction work himself. And I know this because I wrote the terms of reference. When you know that, then you will realize just how invaluable his input has been. And Franz, wherever you are, all of us are profoundly grateful to you. One of the conditions for digital projects like this, funded, as we are happy to acknowledge, under PRTLI-4, was that they should contain strong elements of outreach to the interested, non-specialist community. So far, we've talked about how the stack makes easily available St. Patrick's writings in accessible modern language translation. And we think that magnetic personality as Patrick is, that outreach is certainly inherent in his work and will come through strongly. Read the booklet and you'll see what I mean. But another condition is that such projects should be educational. In that area, here's how I think the stack fulfills the mandate. As our virtual visitors read the saint's own writings on the internet, many may be puzzled to find no references to shamrocks, as an emblem of the Trinity, no mention of banishing snakes from Ireland, no contests with druids or spectacular miracles, no reference to anywhere called Armagh, not even a mention of Slemish as the place where Patrick herded animals in slavery. In short, a frequently asked question, or FAQ, might be, why does what I am now reading seem different from what I think I know about Patrick? Well, such ingredients are indeed an important part of the popularly held image of the man, but the point is that these elements, and many others, only came to be attributed to the figure of Patrick in later times, beginning, albeit, in the Middle Ages. And this development of those elements is itself an interesting phenomenon which can often be tracked in some detail. So far from disdainfully dismissing it, our project also explains, by means of specially commissioned essays by a variety of experts, how and why it was that the two brief but engaging texts by the historical evangelists were subsequently extrapolated so as to project the better-known figure of hagiography and folklore. In disentangling the probably 5th century flesh-and-blood human author from later perceptions of him, we hope we're doing justice to both, as well as clarifying the picture. Thus, in a layer of the stack called Special Features, our colleague Elizabeth Dawson, who is here this evening, traces how and why the 7th century authors Murchu and Tyrconnell were responsible for building up a figure of the saint that has actually eclipsed people's view of the real man ever since. Terry O'Hagan, who I think is also present, explores in more detail Tyrconnell's method of doing this, while in actually the most substantial of our commissioned contributions, titled Seeking Patrick, Derek Mokler, who is here as well, provides a highly descriptive reconstruction of the circumstances in which Murchu, ecclesiastic though he was, may have produced the magical, druid-infested account that he did. This has been illustrated for us with a map prepared by our colleague Sarah Gertie, while Derek has also recorded an audio version of his book for us, freely available to download from the same section of the stack. And on the stack as well, by courtesy of the School of Celtic Studies, one will also find, in their original Latin and in English translation, the 7th century works that I've been talking about, 2 centuries after St. Patrick. Now, on none of the screenfuls we've displayed so far will you yet have seen any visual images of St. Patrick. That's deliberate. To portray him in any particular garb and in any particular surroundings is to beg any number of historical and ecclesiological questions about him. But again, this difficulty is itself a point of interest. So Rachel Moss, who I think is here this evening, has contributed an illustrated account of St. Patrick in art under the title The Staff, the Snake and the Shamrock. So that's where those elements do come in. Apart from Rachel's piece, so far we've been rather text-heavy and image-light. That all changes, though, when we consider where our evidence for anything to do with St. Patrick ultimately comes from: medieval manuscripts. The Confessio survives, in whole or in part, in several different manuscripts dating from the 9th century onwards. A pride and privilege of the HyperStack project is that we've been kindly allowed by the relevant libraries to offer high-quality digital images of each of these in their entirety. We're particularly grateful to Bernard Meehan and the Board of Trinity College Dublin for permitting us for the first time to capture the patrician part of the oldest witness of all, the famous Book of Armagh. Here are the initial passages of the Confessio from it. As you see, one can zoom in and swim around in it and see there, the opening words, Ego Patricius. This is the hand of the scribe Feldosmach, who wrote the Book of Armagh. This is actually one of the easier of the manuscripts to read. All the same, though, a little help with the handwriting may be welcome, so we've also captured images of several historic printed editions of the text, including the wonderful diplomatic transcription of the Book of Armagh by John Gwynne, published in only 400 copies in 1913 by the Academy, in a form that, as you see, tries to mimic in print the varying sizes of the letters in the original that we've just seen. And you may notice that we've used the first 2 words of this, the Ego Patricius, for the logo on the publicity for the stack. Now, these images are all of attractive artifacts, I think you'll agree. And the stack is the only place where you'll see them all together, and indeed the only place that many of them are available at all. But so far we've left out the role they really play.